my name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and I'm participating in this summer's mystery box swap.
Thank you, Ellie from DIY House to Home, for hosting this challenge. I will have a link down below for all the lovely and talented ladies participating today. My mystery box came from Lily D's Creations. I'm so excited to see what she sent over.
So without further ado, let's open the box. Okay, we're gonna open the box. Oh, she has a little letter in here. Let's see what that says. Katie. Hi Katie, I am so excited for you and your first collaboration. I remember how excited and nervous wreck it was. I truly hope you have a blast. I can't wait to see this beautiful things that you create. Happy crafting, Loli. Oh, thank you, Loli. Okay, let's see what's in here. Oh, this is really cute. I like this. Nice wood house from Dollartree. Oh, a cute little pig. And a cow. Oh, and a nice little sign backing. This is very lovely. Sunflowers. I love sunflowers. Nice rub-on transfer. It's really farmhouse style. A sign, a home sign. It's okay to whine a little. I don't know if I want to change that one, but that's very cute. We'll find a really pretty way to make this nice. And then a nice sign backing. Thank you so much, Loli. Hey, I'm gonna be back in a few days to show you what I'm going to make with all these beautiful designs.
Craft number 1. For this craft, I'm going to use 3 of the elements from my box. The cow, the wood frame, and some of the sunflower stickers. The first step is putting the frame onto a paintable surface. Next, I grab my Waverly chalk paint in the color white and maize and some blue painter's tape. And we're going to go ahead and just tape off the inside of this frame. So we're going to start with the yellow chalk paint in the color maize, and we're just going to do a nice light coat around the outside frame. Once the frame is completely coated, I'm going to set this aside and let it dry. Let's go ahead and grab the cow. I'm going to take the hanger off of this cow and I'm going to grab the stickers. And instead of having spots on the cow, it's going to be a sunflower cow. So we're just going to put the sunflower stickers randomly around the cow, but we want to make sure to cover the holes that were there so they don't show on the sign. Now let's go back to the frame. I'm going to grab my antique wax in the color brown, and we're just going to go ahead and just lightly paint around the edges of this sign. And I'm not doing that much at all. And if I get too much anywhere, I'm just gonna kind of buff that out with a baby wipe. And once that is dry, we're just going to remove all the painter's tape. My first thought was just to leave this brown, but I thought it was a little bit too dark, so I decided I was going to whitewash the center. So back to the painter's tape, and we're going to tape off the frame so we can just paint the inside. And I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and we're just going to do a dry brush on the back side of this panel. And once we're done painting, we remove the painter's tape. Now we'll set this aside and let it finish drying. So I had this in my craft stash from last fall, and it says Farm Fresh, and it came in a fall wood cutout pack from the Dollartree. So we're going to use this on our sign. And I'm going to paint this with the maze in Waverly chalk paint. And once that's complete, we're going to dry that, and we're going to take that antique wax again, and we're just gonna lightly brush that to give it some dimension. Last night, hubby and I watched Murder Mystery 2, and it was a really cute movie. If there's any good movies that you guys would like to recommend, I'd love to hear in the comments below. Now it's time to put our sign together. The first step is attaching the cow, and I'm going to use some hot glue to attach the cow to the sign. Now we're going to go ahead and grab that Farm Fresh sign and attach that with some hot glue directly under the cow. And I have these burlap flowers on the screen right now, and I got these from Temu, and I want to talk about them for a minute. These are one of my best purchases so far from Temu. I got them in my last craft haul, which you can see the link to the video below. And they are so well made, and they have a nice little felt circle on the back, which makes it so easy to attach. On to craft number 2. So for this craft, we're going to use the house backing, the rub-on transfers, a napkin from my stash, and a chalkboard tag from my stash. To get started, we're going to whitewash the front of this house. And I'm using my white chalk paint from Waverly. And we're just doing a nice coat of white paint on this. This will allow the napkin, when we decoupage it, to really shine through bright. I'm using my air dryer to dry this, and next we'll go ahead and do a second coat. I just want to make sure it's nice and bright underneath this napkin, so I really wanted to make sure the white looked nice. Now I grab a quick piece of painter's tape and pull off the top half of the napkin. Once that's complete, we take some Mod Podge and we do a nice thick coat of Mod Podge on our surface. And I'm going to let this dry before we apply the napkin, so we'll set this aside while it dries. Now that everything is dry, we're going to apply our napkin. To do this, I just lay my napkin nice on top of the house, a piece of parchment paper, and then I use my hot iron and I iron everything into place. The iron heats up the Mod Podge so that the napkin sticks very nicely to this surface. Now I'm going to grab my zip sander, and we're going to go ahead and sand off all the extra pieces of napkin around the edges of this house. And you want to make sure you're going in a downward motion. And if you don't have a zip sander, a regular sanding block works just fine, or just a piece of sandpaper. And then what I like to do on this one here, because it had those nice ridges in the house, I want to see those. So I'm using my sander to just sand out the napkin and the glue from those ridges. So you kind of have that 3 parts to that sign now when you look at the front of the house. The next step here is we take our tag and we're just going to whitewash it with some white chalk paint. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I did want a nice coat to kind of cover the lines a little bit. And now I'm going to grab those rub-on transfers, and that's why I wanted to whitewash the tag, because the rub-on transfers are black, so I really wanted them to stand out, so I figured white would help with that. And I'm cutting out the words, "You are a wildflower," and we're going to rub that on to the tag. I've never used one of these rub-on transfers. I use a popsicle stick, and it works really well to just kind of rub the words onto the tag. And then once you feel like everything is on there, you're going to just peel off the clear vinyl that's over the top of it. Next, I'm going to reuse one of my bows that I saved. Next, we go ahead and just glue with hot glue the tag right onto the center of this house. And now your house is complete. Like I mentioned earlier, I keep a lot of things from different crafts, like little extra bows, strings, etc., wine corks, and I just keep them in a bowl of doohickeys that sit on my desk for when I'm doing crafts. Now let's slide right on into craft number 3. This craft, I'm going to use the pig and the home sign, and we're going to put those together. I liked how the home sign looked on the front of this like stained glass looking window frame. So I just put some painter's tape over the top of it because we're just going to reuse that piece. Next, I'm going to remove the twine that's on the hanger, and we're just going to whitewash the front of this sign. And we're going to let some of that black just show right through. We're just going to kind of give it a distressed look. And then we'll just set this aside to dry. Once everything is dry, we'll go ahead and remove that blue painter's tape there. Next, we're just going to prep the pig to attach to the sign. So to start, we're just going to remove the twine for the hanger, and we're just going to leave that to the side. What I'll do here is I'm going to just hot glue the pig right onto the stained glass window. And if you're still watching this video, please give me a thumbs up down below and let me know that you're still here. So now that the pig is attached to the window, I'm going to use, I want to call them rivets. They're like scrapbooking rivets, but they don't have the back side to them. So I just hot glue them into the holes just to fill them in. But you could use something like a push pin, rivet, maybe even a brad, but just something to fill in the hole just to make it look flush with the window. Next, I'm going to grab some beads, and these ones were already painted. I had them in my stash. I'll put a link down below from Amazon, but sometimes it's nice to have some beads that are just painted and ready to go. The string, I'm just reusing the original hanger that came with the window, and just makes it easy and we don't waste anything from the window. And then once that's all complete, the sign is ready to hang. It was a very simple sign, but I think it really elevated it by adding the pig and the paint there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now on to craft number 4. On this craft, we're going to use the hexagon shaped frame and some more of those rub-on transfers. And to start, I'm going to go ahead and use my Waverly white chalk paint. And I started out by just painting the center of the sign, and I was going to leave it that way, but then I decided, no, I really don't want to see that black. So I got out the blue painter's tape, and I'm going to tape off the frame. Now that the frame has been taped off, we're going to take our Waverly white chalk paint and just finish painting the inside of this hexagon. I had to use my heat tool on this to dry the first coat of the white paint, and I decided to do a second coat. I don't show that on camera here, but I wanted to just let everybody know that I did do 2 coats of the white. I removed all of that painter's tape, and now I'm going to what I thought was black chalk paint, but it wasn't labeled on the top. The lid was not labeled. Turned out after I stirred it up to be more of a gray blue paint. So I'd love to tell you what color it was, but I honestly have no idea. So if you know what color this is on the Waverly chalk paint, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. But it's kind of like a gray blue. And I painted the whole entire outside of the frame with that color. It looked very farmhouse and rustic, which I loved. And then next I used the rub-on transfer Farm Fresh flowers, seeds, stems, and blooms. And we're just going to rub that right on into the center of the sign. Rub this transfer on, I do use a popsicle stick. And I just go right over all of the top of the letters and around the frame. And then I just go ahead and peel off the plastic right on top of those rub-ons. And this turned out really nice. Next, I went ahead and I cut out a few more of those rub-on transfers. I took 2 of these little leaf sets and I kind of made a swag in the center at the top there. And we're just going to keep doing the same thing with our popsicle stick, rubbing those transfers on and peeling off the plastic. Bottom part of the sign looked a little empty, so I grabbed a few more of those rub-on transfers from the pack. And I love this pack. It's just very versatile, very farmhouse. And I just added 2 flowers and a watering can. And we used the same technique with the popsicle stick and just peeling off the plastic. Now I grabbed some ribbon that I did get at the Dollar Tree. It's more of a blue ribbon with kind of like a white stripe in it. And there's no wire or anything in this, so I just did a basic bow. And I'm just making sure that it fits nice in between those little swag. Now we're just going to hot glue that bow right in the center of those pieces. That completes craft number 4. We're on to craft number 5. our final craft with our last piece from the mystery box. And this is the It's Okay to Whine a Little sign. And while it looks good the way it is, we are going to remake this since this is a crafting mystery box. And I'm going to use my zip sander. And when I got my zip sander, it came with 3 different types of sandpaper, like an 80 grit, 120 grit, and 220 grit. And the green is the 80 grit, and so that's gonna be a little bit rougher, and that will take the paint off really easily. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna move up in the numbers on the grit. So we're gonna go to the terracotta colored sandpaper next, and we're just gonna smooth out any rough edges that there might be on the sign after we've taken off all the paint. And then the last one we'll use is the finer grit one, which is the 220. And we're just gonna make sure it's nice and smooth. Nice is having that piece of cardboard underneath it while you're sanding, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to just clean up all of that sand dust after you're done doing the sanding. Now I did get a new piece of cardboard and I put that underneath the board so we could go ahead and start staining our wood. And I'm using our Waverly wax paint, and we're just gonna paint a nice thick coat on top of this sign. Next, I'm gonna grab some baby wipes and I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe off any of the excess wax. And this leaves a really nice finish on here. So after this dries completely, I do take my sander, my zip sander, and I go ahead and I use the 220 grit, and I just do a rough sand over the top just to make sure it looks nice before we start doing our stencils. And this stencil set I did get from Amazon. I really like these self-adhesive stencils, but I don't like to spend a bunch of money on them because, you know, I'm going to use different ones and I don't want to use the same stencil over and over again. But I can use them over and over again if I want, so that's nice. So I go ahead and defuzz these, and I pick 3 of the 4 words because all 4 wouldn't fit, but 3 of them did. So we stuck with dream, hope, and love. And I used some painter's tape because they were a little bit bigger than the board. So I'm just using that painter's tape to know where to stop using the chalk paste. Next, I take my chalk paste in vintage lace, and I use my squeegee, and I just go ahead and paint that on the stencils. Now we'll just remove the stencils and set this board aside to dry. Once it has dried completely, and I mean completely, and I take my Jolene finishing wax and a lint-free towel, and I just wipe that over the top of the chalk paint. And I typically keep like a little bucket in my drawer by my crafting station of just some lint-free tore up pieces of cloth. That way I can use them and then toss them when I'm done with them. And this is just a simple project that looks amazing. Thank you everybody for watching. Here is all 5 of the crafts from the mystery box. And thank you again for Lodi for sending me such a fun box to work with.